The Vikings crashed upon the shores of England like a tidal wave. Their longships carried warriors hungry for plunder. The Anglo-Saxon kingdoms trembled. One by one they fell to the Norsemen. Yet a young king stood defiant. His name was Edmund, ruler of East Anglia. Edmund was a man of deep faith and a warrior king. When the Vikings landed, he refused to flee. He would defend his people, his faith and his land. His heart burned with courage. He rallied his men to fight for their homes and survival. The clash was inevitable. The Vikings fought with brutal ferocity. Edmund's men, though outnumbered, fought with desperation. But the Viking tide was relentless. Edmund's forces fought bravely, but they were ultimately overwhelmed. The battle for East Anglia was a disaster. Edmund's forces were routed and he was captured. The Viking leader, Ivar the Boneless, offered Edmund a deal: renounce his faith, submit to Viking rule and live. But Edmund was a man of principle. He would not betray his beliefs or abandon his people. Edmund refused. His defiance enraged Ivar. The Viking chieftain ordered Edmund's execution. Ivar wanted to make an example of Edmund. He ordered his men to tie Edmund to a tree. They began to shoot arrows at him. Each arrow was a message: submit or suffer. But Edmund would not break. He endured the pain, praying for his people and his soul. Edmund's death was not just an execution, it was a martyrdom. His unwavering faith elevated him to sainthood. His name would be forever etched in history. When the Vikings left, Edmund's followers emerged from hiding. They wanted to give their king a proper burial, but his body was gone. They searched the battlefield and nearby woods. They found nothing. Despondent, they were about to give up hope when they heard a voice. "Here, here, here!" Following the sound, they stumbled upon Edmund's head. It was lying in the brush and speaking. The head told them where to find the body. It had been dragged off by a wolf and hidden. This was no ordinary event. It was a miracle. The talking head became an essential part of Saint Edmund's legend. The followers followed the instructions of the severed head. They discovered Edmund's body hidden in the undergrowth, but they were not alone. A large wolf stood guard. However, the wolf did not attack. It seemed to recognize the sanctity of the situation. It allowed the followers to approach the body. The wolf's presence was another miracle. It was a sign that even the animals recognized Edmund's holiness. The wolf became a symbol of protection. It had guarded the king's body from scavengers. This act of guardianship further solidified the miraculous nature of Edmund's death. The wolf's presence added another layer to the legend. Edmund was not just a king, he was a martyr chosen by God. The wolf, in its own way, was paying homage. Edmund's followers carefully retrieved his body and head. They prepared for a proper burial. They placed the head back with the body. This act was deeply symbolic. In medieval Christian belief, the body needed to be whole for the resurrection. The reunification of head and body represented the hope for Edmund's soul to be whole again in the afterlife. Edmund was buried with great reverence. A shrine was erected over his grave. It became a place of pilgrimage. People came from all over to pay their respects. Edmund's martyrdom had transformed him into a powerful symbol of faith and resistance. The placement of the head with the body held deep spiritual significance. It reflected the belief that even in death, there was hope for resurrection and eternal life. Years later, Edmund's tomb was opened. The people wanted to see the remains of their beloved saint. What they found astonished them. Edmund's body was almost perfectly preserved. His wounds had healed, only the marks of the arrows remained. This was seen as a final resounding miracle. It solidified Edmund's status as a true saint. The exhumation miracle cemented Edmund's place in history. It confirmed the beliefs of the faithful. Edmund was not just a man, he was a symbol of God's grace. He was proof that faith could triumph even over death. His story served as an inspiration. It gave people hope during difficult times. Edmund's legacy extends far beyond his death, reminding people that even in the darkest of times, hope and faith could prevail.